My name is Brian Anderson, CDO of Veripool Technologies, and you're watching Taking Stock.
2 minutes to go into the close. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was created all the way back in 1896, and on this Friday, February 6th, 130 years later, it is expected to finish above 50,000 for the first time in history. The great Einstein of Wall Street, the institution, inside the institution, joined us for this historic milestone.
I was here when they started it, you know that,
1896.
Right? Yes, I was.
Yeah, you don't even look at remotely.
I don't look at day
What
over.
do you make of the tape, the return, the recovery we've had today, and of course Dow 50K, Peter?
You know what, I fear for those people who got really scared out of the market yesterday because there were a lot, right? The narrative got so dark, as we always talk about, that, you know, the advance versus declines. Yesterday was a legitimate sell-off. I mean, look, one day does not make a market, we know that. But you know what, I mean, it was all about the jobs number that came out. People were just trying to lunge at something to get a feeling, because all of February has been one day up, one day down. We had 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday were the mirror image of each other. We opened one day up and closed down, and one day down and closed up. So people were trying to position themselves. And then yesterday, we had just nothing but sell side. The whole tape looked really sort of negative, with the VIX up almost 16%. So that just showed that people were fearful. And then we came in today, and you know, whether it was that surge coming in, you know, I'm not really clear what this is about. The volume has been spectacular.
Yeah.
Right? Every day in February has been $1.5 billion. That's 30% more. That means people are they're buying stock with intention.
Yeah.
Right? They're putting money to work.
We're about 6 to 1, up volume to down volume. We'll pick it up after the bell. Einstein, thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. And on this history-setting Friday, the team from I Have a Dream Foundation here at the big board set to do the honors, both ringing the closing bell, and they will join us here on the broadcast in just a little bit. Peter Tuchman and I just breaking down Dow 50,000, and that's because the most weighted names in the price-weighted index of the Dow are in positive territory in no one's terms. Goldman Sachs, Caterpillar, Microsoft, Home Depot, as well as Amgen, all having a very strong bounce-back performance after 3 days of profit-taking and a fair bit of selling. Been a very volatile week down here, to say the least. Let's bring in our good friend Melissa Otto, head of Visible Alpha Research at S&P Global Market Intelligence, for her take on everything. Take one step this way with me, if you don't mind. Okay, so here we are, Dow 50,000. We're so close to all-time highs for the S&P 500. But what a wild last 72 hours it's been, and quite the recovery today. What'd you see?
First of all, thanks for having me here at the New York Stock Exchange, especially on such an incredibly exciting day. Dow 50,000, amazing. I mean, what a wild week. I mean, earlier in the week we thought, oh my God, this is Armageddon. And now here we are at all-time highs. The volatility is unprecedented.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Talk to me about what you've seen about some of the mega cap tech earnings. We've now got most of the Magnificent Seven behind us, but Amazon kind of getting rocked in the day, even though they said, hey, we're going to double our CapEx spend on the AI build-out 1 year to the next. What happened with Amazon?
I mean, they came in with a CapEx number that was 30% higher than Visible Alpha consensus. Already high, $200 billion is what they announced. This is an incredible number. Then you also had Alphabet, similar situation. Their number was actually 50% higher than Visible Alpha consensus. So you've got this massive amount of capital coming into the market for data centers, for compute, all of this to support AI.
And that's not alone. How about Microsoft and some of the other names? We had a few names report last week, and they're all important. These are the most consolidated and most important names in the S&P 500.
I mean, when we aggregate all of them together, this year alone, we're going to see over $630 billion in CapEx. Unbelievable.
Wow. Absolutely. How does this set the stage for NVIDIA, Jensen Huang and co? They tend to now report at the very tail end of the earnings season. They kind of let the other mega caps go first, and then it's all eyes on NVIDIA. What will you be looking for a few weeks from now?
I mean, we've already started to see estimates for Blackwell and for the data center revenues eking up into the quarter and also for next year. So I would say there's optimism building into estimates and where consensus is headed.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how quickly the narrative shifts, because this time 1 week ago, we were talking about the fact so many parts of the financial markets kind of got throttled after the announcement of Kevin Warsh. That seems like a distant memory right now because of how much we've been through in the last 7 days. What are some other additional catalysts, Melissa, you'll be paying attention to in the days and weeks ahead?
Memory! Oh my goodness, memory stocks!
Oh yeah.
We have seen upward revisions just flying on these names. I mean, the amount of DRAM and high bandwidth memory, the demand for it is astonishing, and the prices of this have just absolutely increased in the past 2-3 months, and you've seen the stock prices doing the same. It'll be interesting to see how valuations start to reflect this difference. Multiples are only trading at 9-10 times when we look out to 2027, so curious to see what the top is there.
You're talking names like SanDisk, Lam, Western Digital. I mean, that has been an astounding run for any investor who hasn't paid attention to those stock charts, right?
Yes.
That's amazing. Before I let you go, anything else big you're paying attention to here for the rest of the month of February?
I mean, we're just keeping our eyes out on the whole macro geopolitical picture. I mean, even though the U.S., we're seeing this big rally today, it's again, Dow 50,000. Wow. But, you know, one of the things that's been very interesting is overseas markets. Emerging markets up almost 50% in the past couple of months. Developed markets also trending very, very well, outperforming the U.S. So is that trend going to continue? And also, what's going to be the trajectory of the dollar given all of this new Fed news?
Yeah, of course.
Are we going to continue to see strength, or could we see a weaker dollar?
Yeah, we saw a lot of strength as everything else was selling off this week. On a day like today, obviously, we reversed the tape.
Absolutely.
The Dixie falling about 22 basis points on the day, selling in at 97.49. Our good friend, Melissa Otto, head of Visible Alpha Research at S&P Global Market Intelligence. Happy Dow 50,000. Happy Friday. Come
Happy
back anytime.
Friday.
It's great to have you. Skylar, grab your mic. Todd, you and I will head this way and go for a walk. We will now bring you the latest event contract odds from our friends over at Polymarket, because everyone's talking about the big game. And I don't mean the New York Knicks game on Sunday, though. That is a big one. We're, of course, talking, excuse me, Lynn, how we doing? We're, of course, talking about Super Bowl 60 coming on Sunday, 70% odds in the eyes of Polymarket participants. Seattle will win the game over New England. 51% odds. The MVP of the game will be 44% it'll be Sam Darnold. 26% chance it will be Drake May. 51% odds, I really like this contract, that the winner of the coin toss will end up winning the Super Bowl itself. You could also wager about which companies will run ads during the big game. OpenAI, Anthropic, Amazon, we're expecting all those and much more. Also, the favorite color for the Gatorade shower is blue. For whatever that's worth, I think it might be orange. We'll take a look at a couple NYSE notables before we toss a break. How about the team from Delta here, reaching fresh all-time highs in the day, with the stock reaching up almost 8%. All of the major airlines catching a bid on this Friday, bouncing back after a few brutal sessions. Strong 2026 forecast helping boost these stocks as part of this Friday recovery. Delta shares up 7.5% on the year. The average one-year price target sits at $84 a share. Upside potential of another 12% or so off these current levels. And how about the Select Spiders? This is the energy ETF XLE, the best performer in the S&P 500 so far here in 2026, the third best over the last 52 weeks. ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, those are your most weighted names here. It's a cold weather story, it's an AI data center story, it's a geopolitical security story, and a very strong uptrend, up about 20% or so from mid-December alone. All right, FinTech TV's lead anchor, Remy Blair, sat down with Solana Foundation's Nick Dukoff recently at the Ondo Summit 2026 earlier this week, right here in New York City. Take a look.
Welcome to FinTech TV. I'm Remy Blair. Ondo Finance has expanded its Ondo Global Markets platform to the Solana blockchain, bringing more than 200 tokenized U.S. stocks and ETFs to the network. Now, these tokenized securities are designed to maintain price parity with traditional markets while operating on public ledger infrastructure. Well, joining me live at the Ondo Summit 2026 in New York City is Nick Dukoff, Head of Institutional Growth at Solana Foundation. Nick, great to have you back on FinTech.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thanks for joining me. So we're here at Ondo Summit 2026, and a lot has changed since last year. So tell us what's happening when it comes to Solana.
Yeah, well, so Solana has had a great year on virtually every metric. In 2025, we had $3 trillion in DEX volume, $1 trillion in stablecoin volume. We now have $1.3 billion in RWA TVL, And just yesterday, we had a new all-time high in terms of daily transactions on the network of 150 million transactions on Solana just yesterday. And as you mentioned, Ondo brought their 200 tokenized equities onto Solana just this past month in January. And it was very exciting. You all had me on your set on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange the day of the BitGo IPO. And what was so cool about that was the day that BitGo went public on the New York Stock Exchange, you could buy the tokenized version on Solana via Ondo Global Markets. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, and you just mentioned that IPO that took place at the New York Stock Exchange, and a lot of people were talking about that. But of course, tokenization is a big theme as we head into 2026. So what do you expect in terms of innovation and product, not just in the US, but also overseas?
Yeah, well, I'm so glad you asked about that because I think the story is a global story. The whole vision of Solana is this idea of internet capital markets, bringing all global investors together to buy any asset on Earth on the same liquidity venue. And when you think about that, it really opens up global investors. So in the 2010s, you had fintech companies like Chime and Revolut providing financial services to the global unbanked. And I think what Solana does is it provides assets to the global unbrokeraged. And so, for example, in Pakistan, there are only 300,000 people with brokerage accounts, but 40 million with a crypto wallet. Here in the United States, for people under 30, there's more people with a crypto wallet than have a brokerage account. And so when you're thinking about something like the BitGo IPO, for example, if you want to give global investors access to that product, they're actually not going to get it on the New York Stock Exchange. They're going to come and they're going to get it on Solana.
And we're here at the Ondo Summit. So, of course, there are a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people in the ecosystem that are attending. We have TradFi, we have DeFi, we have policymakers, as well as media here. So give us your take on some of the conversations unfolding and what you make of some of the announcements.
Well, it's unbelievable, the group that Ondo has pulled together today. I mean, I've seen partners of ours from JP Morgan, BlackRock, State Street, Wisdom Tree, Invesco, and on and on and on. And I'm sure I'm missing many. They really have a who's who of TradFi here, along with some of the more DeFi native folks like the Solana Foundation. And I think that's the really cool thing about Ondo is they're great at bringing TradFi and blockchain together.
Well, Nick, always great talking to you. I'm sure you and I will be talking from many events this year. So thank you so much for joining me. And thank you so much for all of your insights.
As always, thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Welcome back to the show. You are watching a very special edition of Taking Stock on this history-making Friday here at the New York Stock Exchange with the Dow Jones Industrial Average officially closing above 50,000 moments ago for the first time in history. Time at this hour to give you the latest headlines you need to know in the worlds of fintech, crypto, and artificial intelligence. What a bounce-back session for Bitcoin, Solana, as well as Ether, all up at this hour, above 10%. Next up, the AI wars are going prime time. We were talking about the big game a few moments ago. Anthropic and OpenAI escalating their rivalry with dueling Super Bowl moments set to hit the airwaves on Sunday as both companies fight to win enterprise customers and prove their business models can scale. And finally, speaking of Anthropic, Goldman Sachs teaming up with the AI startup to build AI agents that can automate internal banking tasks as Wall Street pushes deeper into artificial intelligence. Anna Rubleska joins us now down here on the trading floor of the big board. She is the Chief Business Officer at Denari. Happy Friday, and thanks for joining us on the show. Really nice to have you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Give me a little bit of an introduction for any of our viewers who don't know too much about Denari. What is it all about, and what are some of your top priorities here in early 2026?
Absolutely, so we're a tokenization platform. We focus primarily on US public securities, so stocks, ETFs, BDCs, REITs, you name it, we can tokenize it. We are special in that we have pioneered what the SEC calls the custodial model of tokenization. What that means is that all the benefits, rights, and regulatory structures that make being a shareholder in this country so great are passed through to the token holder. So we're very excited for 2026 and beyond.
It seems like a really exciting moment to be in the space. We're talking a lot more about tokenized equities. Why is that conversation, you think, so important right now?
It's important because we are seeing, this ability for institutions to start understanding blockchain technology a little bit more and what it can offer both themselves and their end customers. I think this has been a long time coming. We in the space have been talking about this for years. The institutions are coming, and now we've finally gotten to a point where they are here. And I think work like what we're doing, where we're building something that's compliant and compatible with existing financial infrastructure, is helpful in doing that, because we can kind of speak that same language and start to communicate those benefits in a way that's understandable and viable.
Anna, what does regulatory compatibility look like as part of this broader conversation? And talk to me a bit about the significance of making sure that that's part of the consideration.
Yeah, so of course there's a number of approaches to tokenization around the world. One thing that we thought was really important is, securities laws exist, and they've existed for a long time. And so our kind of North Star was, let's build a platform that speaks to those regulations, it's built to that spec, because that way, again, you can start to have really productive conversations with institutions about, what are the benefits of moving on to blockchain infrastructure, and what utility can that really start to offer you.
Over the course of the last year, we've talked so much about the changing rules of the road, the blueprint shifting, the new look regulations in the space. For all the progress that has already been made, is there still a lot more work, you think, systemically for the industry that still needs to be done for lawmakers and policymakers?
Well, I think I'm not a policy person, but I mean, obviously there's, ongoing conversations in DC around, stablecoin regulation. I think these things are really important. They're going to help the industry move forward. Obviously, for anyone that's operating in a regulated space, we need rules of the road. Again, we took a particular path towards that of saying there are already rules governing securities, but there's so much more involved in crypto and even in tokenization that goes beyond that. So we're very excited to see those conversations continue to happen, and hope we'll see some great market structure regulation soon.
I got less than a minute left. Obviously, we just did the closing bell. Right now, for the world of regular equities, we have a trading day, 9:30 to 4 o'clock. Do you see the world of tokenized assets maybe having expanded hours outside of what we may be used to?
Yeah, I mean, I know this has been a conversation in traditional markets for a long time, is, expanding the hours and moving towards a more 24/7 marketplace. Pros and cons of both, but one of the benefits of crypto rails is 24/7 marketplace, and there's a lot that can be unlocked with that, and we do think tokenization can be really helpful for that.
Anna Wróblewska is the Chief Business Officer at Denari. Congratulations on all the success. Come back on the show anytime. Really nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock coming up from the big board after this. Welcome back to the show. You're watching Taking Stock, still live here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Time for a few headlines in the world of startups, raises, and rounds for your Friday afternoon. First up, Barrick Mining Corp is planning to spin off its top North American gold assets through an IPO later this year in 2026, a strategic reset aimed at unlocking value as gold prices still sit very close to all-time record highs. Next up, Ocean Tech getting a bit of a boost. Aperion Labs raising almost $10 million to deploy autonomous underwater robots that collect subsurface ocean data, cutting the cost of monitoring by up to 100x. And finally, at this hour, Y Combinator reversing course, the firm now saying it will once again invest in Canada incorporated startups after a bit of pushback from its founders, reaffirming its commitment to backing Canadian companies. All right, time now to say hello to our third and our final guest on the show, but certainly not the least. Just rang the closing bell. Sarah Morgenthau is the president and CEO of the I Have a Dream Foundation. Great to have you here. Congratulations on doing the bell today.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be here on such a historic day with going over 50,000. My hope is that this will incentivize everybody to give to IHaveADreamFoundation.org.
Absolutely. So talk to me all about your top priorities, and for anyone a bit unfamiliar with it, what are the real core tenets of the foundation?
You know, I Have a Dream Foundation is an education nonprofit. We work in low-income communities around the country, first grade to first job. It's about the social and emotional learning support, about skills-based and mentorship, really. Mentorship and long-term relationships. So important, in this time when, isolation is really at a crisis point.
I love that phrase, first grade to first job. Any particular success stories? I'm sure there are countless, but things that really stand out to you as being really proof of the undeniable success, the amazing work you and the foundation have done.
That's what keeps you going because, the education crisis is real, but when I hear the stories, I've met Bobby Daniels in Atlanta who came out of a housing project and now is a lawyer in Atlanta doing great things. In fact, he'll kill me, but I told him, I think you might be the next Barack Obama. Chanel Fraser was in the Bed-Stuy community of Brooklyn. She met someone named Paul Tudor Jones and Jeff Gorell.
Wow.
And heard in 6th grade about financial spreadsheets, about hedge funds, went home to her parents. First, she came from a family who hadn't, gone to college before, was intergenerational poverty. She told them that's what she was going to do, and then she ended up 15 years at BlackRock.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
The modern workforce is always evolving. How do you ensure the foundation is always staying one step ahead in terms of job readiness and job preparedness for people in the foundation, in the program, to ensure that the workforce they enter to, they are as prepared as they can be for what that looks like?
Yeah, 100%. These kids are the workforce of the future. The United States of America, we need to have our kids prepared, all kids. So we're working on financial literacy. We're working on AI. And, on top of that, we're working on literacy. The Wall Street Journal had a report that our math and reading scores are at an all-time low for the United States of America. We can't let that happen because these kids are important. They are a workforce of our future. And also, we're talking about competition on the global stage. So the United States needs to stay strong.
Sarah, before I let you go, where can people go if they want to find out more?
IHaveADreamFoundation.org. Please come and see us. Please come and visit us. These kids need you, we need you, and it's an exciting time.
Sarah Morgenthau, President and CEO of the one and only I Have a Dream Foundation. Congratulations. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show.
You're very welcome.
Really good to have you. Don't go anywhere. Much more Taking Stock coming up from this big Friday here on Wall Street right after this.
Welcome back to Who in the F Knows 2026 Predictions. I'm Scarlett Sieber from Money 2020, and today we're going to be diving into another bold forecast from our Money 2020 content team. If you're new here, here's the deal. I break down one prediction for the future of finance and give it a verdict. Either bank on it or bounce it. Because in fintech, you can hedge your bets, but let's be honest, who in the F really knows? Let's cash in. Today's prediction comes from Virginia Alvarez, one of the brilliant minds on our Money 2020 US content team. Virginia says that in 2026, stronger regulations will reshape finance to keep pace with AI, crypto, stablecoins, and tokenized stocks. She's talking about global frameworks and the G20 pushing faster, more transparent, interoperable payments, alongside clearer rules, fraud prevention, and scalability. Translation: a safer, more efficient, more accessible system for everyone. All right, Virginia, all right, I see it. Regulation is the plumbing that lets innovation flow without flooding the basement. On the bank on it side, yes, we need stronger rules for AI and crypto to build trust, protect consumers, and give serious builders a stable playing field. Without that, it's chaos, fraud, and a confidence gap. But here's the reality check and why I'm not ready to cash the full check yet. Regulation moves on a multi-year clock. Look at what's happening over in Europe with the crypto regime. MiCA entered into the force in mid-23, but key rules only began applying to stablecoins in June 24 and to most other tokens and service providers in December 24. With technical standards continuing to roll out through 25 and beyond. So in other words, adopted isn't the same as fully implemented. Same story with AI. The EU AI Act was published in 24 of July, entered into force in August 24, and then phases obligations in. Initial probations and literacy requirements in early 25, general purpose AI obligations starting in August 25, and then most remaining rules by August 26. The high-risk system compliance stretching all the way into 27. That is a staggered runway, people, not a single landing. Banking capital? Well, Basel III's endgame has been years in the making. Final reforms agreed in 2017, intended to apply for January 23, with jurisdictions still phasing pieces and aligning details through 25 to 27. Global convergence is slow by design. Even the G20's cross-border payments roadmap set 27 targets for speed, cost, access, and transparency, but we still got a lot to do yet. Momentum is good, but we don't have instant results. So my verdict on this one, Virginia, I have to say is only a partial bank on it. Maybe even a little bit of a bounce, but I love your idea, and here's why. Regulation is absolutely going to shape the rails for AI, crypto, stablecoins, and tokenized assets, but expecting fully harmonized, globally synchronized rules to remake finance by 26, girl, that's optimistic. The timelines tell you this is more comply and build over several years than flip the switch by next year. So what do you all think? Are we on the brink of a regulatory revolution, or should we bounce this check until the rules actually hit the street? Drop your thoughts, and don't forget to check the rest of Who in the F Knows 26 predictions at money2020.com, because in fintech, the only sure bet is that nothing is guaranteed.
50,115.67. That is the closing tape on this historic Friday, February 6th for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, 130 years young. We'll get you quickly updated for what to expect, crossing all of the wires and tapes for Wall Street next week. We are setting up to have another very busy 5 next trading days. Lots of Fed speakers on tap. On Tuesday, we'll get earnings from names like CVS, Coca-Cola, Datadog, Pfizer, Spotify, and many others. On Wednesday, we will finally get the long-delayed January jobs report. Remember, we kicked that over from a couple weeks ago. We'll also hear quarterly results from names like Shopify, T-Mobile, AppLovin, Cisco, as well as Mickey D's set to cross at the open on Wednesday. On Thursday, we'll hear from Coinbase, Pinterest, Rivian, DraftKings. We'll hear what the gambling giant had to say with regards to wagers surrounding the big game on Sunday. And next Friday, the January CPI, Friday morning earnings from Moderna and Wendy's. That's going to do it on this history-setting day here on Wall Street. Thanks for watching. We will see you on Monday.